Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. So I don't know what shifted, but the last month or so has just been really rough. So I'm going to blame it on the Mercury retrograde and the Venus retrograde and the everything retrograde that has all finally gone direct, because I feel like I kind of have a brain again, which is good. Having a brain is good. So this is totally off topic, but I heard this yesterday, the day before, and I just want to share it with you because I thought it was really funny. So this is a quote from Representative Kennedy from Kentucky, or Senator Kennedy from Kentucky. And so he was part of this town hall thing, and this was his comment, and it was so funny, and I thought it was kind of appropriate for this show. So he said, "God created the world and everything else is made in China." Pretty funny. Anyway, so that's neither here nor there, but I thought it was pretty funny. Okay, so last week we talked about the makeup of the mind and that there were three parts. There's the conscious mind, which is the part of us that is interacting and hopefully watching this show and paying attention and participating in the world around us. Then there's the unconscious mind, that giant computer that's inside of us that saves all of our interactions and experiences and collects them so we can evaluate new situations based on this database that we've stored inside. And then there's the superconscious mind, which is the part of us that attempts to connect to the divine. So this week, I wanted to break down the conscious mind. And then next week, we're going to talk about the superconscious mind. So if you think about it, everything starts with a thought. Now, we might not have a conscious thought about something, but everything that goes on inside of us starts with a thought. So as an example, and I'm going to give the same scenario, but two different things. So you're driving your car and you're like, driving my car. And then some other driver, I'm going to say idiot, because you're in a kind of bad mood, cuts you off. And all of a sudden you go into this rage and you're pissed off and your brain is going a mile a minute about what an idiot they are, and they need to get their driver's license, and where are the police? When are they going to arrest them? Oh my God. So that is one reaction based on not a conscious thought, but on a thought nonetheless. But you can have the exact same situation happen where you're driving along and somebody cuts you off, and you tap on your brake and you kind of wave them on and you just don't react. But again, it was a thought that said, they're an idiot. And you just let them go on by. And so for many of us, and that's kind of a generic response, but for some people, their reaction every time something happens is, they go into a rage or they get really upset, and we talked about this a little bit last week about our programming, and how we react is really based on the programming that we have. So when things happen, I'm going to break this down even a little bit more. So when things happen, when we have life experiences, when we have a thought, we create what are called neural pathways in our mind, in our brain. And the more something repeats itself, they become bigger. So imagine that when something happens, it's just like a little thread of energy. But the more times it's repeated, that little thread of energy now becomes like a walking path. And then it becomes a dirt road. And for some people, that response, that thought pattern can become like a 4 or 5 lane highway, so that anytime something happens, they immediately are going down that highway. And so again, and this is all based on our core beliefs. It's all based on the programming that we have taken in and adopted over the years. Now, for some people, okay, not that many people, that's something I've really been working on. When things happen, it takes them to a place of peace. Or they might be a little bit upset, but they're really able to easily let go of what's going on and return to that place of peace. But for most other people, when something happens, they get caught in the trappings of that lower soul, in that Kelly pot, in those shells of ego that keep us from experiencing higher vibrations in ourselves. And we get caught in the egoic mind. So one of the things that happens inside of us, so something happens and we have a response. And this is very much tied to the subconscious mind and to the lower soul. So something happens and our body responds. And usually it responds in our stress response system. We can fight, we can flight, or we can freeze. And so when we fight, we can get angry, we can get pissed off, we might slam doors around. There is definitely an outward expression of what is going on. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an outward expression, but our heart rate goes up. There's just this whole physiological response. And I'm sure you have all interacted with people who have respond to things in the flight or the fight response. You might even respond to things in the fight response. And we all utilize these different ones at different points of time in our lives. When we're in the flight response, it's like we want to back away and we want to exit stage left, but sometimes you can't do that. So if you find yourself crossing your arms and kind of putting a little wall up between you and whoever you're interacting with, you're probably in the flight response because you want to back away. You want to get away from this impending danger. Because when our stress response system is activated, it's like we perceive the situation as some kind of a danger, whether it is a real danger or something that we perceive based on our programming, based on our life experience, based on where our egoic mind is to react. And then the last one is the freeze response. And the freeze response is like a deer in the headlight, and you just freeze. And tied to the freeze response is something called disassociation. And so when you're disassociated, it's like you're daydreaming, like your body's here, but your brain is over there cooking dinner, or you're at work, or you're somewhere else. You're not here. You're not in the situation. And so if you use the freeze response as a coping mechanism to a stress, to a stressor, many times it's like the person is talking and you're not paying attention because you're thinking about other things. I'm definitely a freezer. And I remember growing up, my mom was always screaming about something. And I literally, in my mind, I would like turn the volume down so I didn't have to listen to her. And I found that as an adult, if I was in some kind of argument with someone, I would just turn the volume down. And if you asked me what they said, I couldn't tell you because I was over there thinking about what a jerk they were or whatever I was thinking about. But that's the freeze response. And I'm going to throw this out also. People that tend to have entity issues, like attached entity issues, which we've talked about, tend to have used the freeze response a lot. And they tend to navigate life kind of in this disassociated space. Okay. But also when this stress response is activated, it can cause us to have intrusive thoughts. So we might ruminate about something, which means we're thinking about the situation over and over again. It's like, well, maybe I could have done this, or maybe I could have done that, or what is their motivation, or what are they thinking? But we're constantly trying to figure out what happened. We tend to ruminate about things that were in the past, kind of with this hope, like we can solve the problem or come up with a different resolution to something that's already happened. The other one that is that we have is that we worry, and there's always the question of what if sitting out there. Well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what if this happens? What if this happens? And it is putting out this thought. Okay, it's a thought that keeps it all activated within us versus going, okay, but this is what's going on right now. People tend to be one or the other. They tend to be more of a ruminator than a worrier. And it's not that you can't ruminate or you can't worry. But I have found that people tend to be on more one than the other. I mean, same thing with the stress response, fight, flight, freeze. You might have your primary one, but it doesn't mean that you can't exhibit the other ones depending on the situation. And then the other one, and I put this in with intrusive thoughts, and I talked about this a little bit last week, is our inner critic. Now, our inner critic isn't considered an intrusive thought, but I have to tell you, our inner critic is intrusive as all get-go. And our inner critic is that part of us that says, I suck, I'm bad, I'm fat, I should have done this better. I mean, whatever that negative thinking that's going on inside of our heads, those things that we'll say to ourselves that we would never say out loud to another person, those are our intrusive thoughts or our inner critic. And that inner critic can be debilitating and keep us trapped in this is who I am fat, I am stupid, and reinforces these negative core beliefs that we might have developed about ourselves based on our programming throughout our lives. And when all of this happens, it activates our ego. And so when we are feeling like we're in a fight state or a flight state or in a free state, or we're in a place where we're ruminating or we're worrying or our inner critic is turned on, it's because we have activated our ego. And our ego's goal, and again, this is all part of the unconscious mind, acts to ensure our survival and to ensure, and I'm going to say this one, and for some of you, it might not make sense, our superiority. We don't want other people to be bigger than us or more important than us or better than us. Not everyone has that part, but everybody has that survival thing. Being financially okay can set off all kinds of egoic, stress-related, intrusive thoughts inside of us. So I'm going to close with this, and I hope this makes sense. And again, you guys, if you have questions, just put it in the chat room. When you find yourself in this place, when you find yourself having your stress response system activated, you're worried, you're ruminating, you're really angry about something, you just want to run away, or you're just kind of spaced out, know that something's been triggered inside of you, that there was a thought, even though it might be a subconscious thought, that has been activated, setting off this whole cascade. And what happens is that it causes our inside, it causes our ego to take this negative dive. And so instead of being in a good positive place with high vibrating energy, it tends to take us down and down and down until we end up in the rabbit hole. Now, we might not all get in the rabbit hole, but there are some people that do, and it's not a very fun place to be. But when this is happening, I also want you to recognize that it is not your conscious mind that's running the show. It's your subconscious mind. It is the ego and the reactive brain that is interacting with the world and not you. And so part of the goal is to shift that so that you can be more present and more conscious of what's going on in yourself and in your world. So, and again, I've talked about a lot of tools: tapping, breathing, going to the gym, meditating, doing yoga. All of those things will help to shift that energy and give you the opportunity to move your vibration back up. And I think I also suggested last week, start paying attention. Start paying attention to where you are and where your brain is at, especially if it's in these lower vibrating energies. If you find yourself worrying all the time, if you find yourself ruminating all the time, if you find yourself very emotionally reactive, or if something happens, if it takes you a long time to have it unwind and for you to come back to a more neutral, centered place. The only way you can change things is by becoming aware of it. And so I would really love for you guys to start being more mindful of what's going on, because, becoming aware of a problem is 50% of the solution. And as always, if you need my help, if you find that you have a lot of negative thinking or intrusive thinking or whatever, reach out to me at soulhealer.com and set up a time for a private consultation. I would love talking to you about it. Okay. So this episode, or this show, Thursday Night Live with Dr. Rita Louise, is brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can learn to become a medical intuitive counselor, or a certified energy medicine practitioner. And you can go to that webpage and download my free 50-page guide. And I forgot to add the image, so I'm not doing that. But it is loaded with exercises that you can try to start you on the road of tapping into your intuition. So it's a cool thing. If you are watching this show in a pre-recorded format and want to join the activities, the easiest place to do that is by going to my YouTube channel. That's Just Energy Radio on YouTube at 7 p.m. Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central, and join the fun. And please reach out and say hi and have fun. We have a great group of people here. So I would love to see new faces. While you're there, please like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate that. And while I'm saying that, if you want to follow me on my other social media platforms, I would love to see you there, or just subscribe to help my numbers. It's a win-win situation. So anyway, okay, so I'm going to change gears. I saw that there were that there were people in here way before we started. And I'm just going to go down the list, and whoever asked for a reading, I will go ahead and start with them. And so, you know, if you're kind of down the scroll, just be patient. I will get to you. I promise I will. Okay. All right, I have to go up. So, hi, Una, and it says, good evening, everyone. Hi, Dr. Rita. So nice to be here. May I have a number 3? So, Una, ding, ding, ding. You are the lucky number 1 winner for today. And you sure can have a number 3. Okay. All right, and that's your card for today. So, Unar, I am getting the impression that you've had a fun-filled week, just filled with some stress and anxiety. I feel like that energy has shifted. I feel like you finally, like things are finally being let go. Almost as if you've been holding your breath and holding everything inside of you, and you finally have got permission to kind of relax and release and come back into being you. You know, I am feeling like this process is going to take a couple of days because I just get the impression that there was a lot that you stored up. And I'm going to throw this out there because there's a lesson in this whole situation that you're supposed to be learning. And, you know, so I'm hoping that you will take a step back. And I don't necessarily mean today, maybe this weekend, you know, you'd be kind of recovered, to see what happened, to look at what happened, because I feel like it wasn't good. It wasn't positive. And maybe it's something that you can change. So, but there was definitely a lesson in here for you. Okay. All righty. Hi, ERRT Radio. Hi, Yvonne. Okay, Yvonne. May I get a reading number 2, please? You sure can, Yvonne. Okay, that's your card for today. Okay, very interesting. I mean, because this is the card, but what I'm feeling from you is this feeling of kind of separation, like this energy of unity and having things be okay and whatever is more of a goal for you right now. I kind of feel like it's a little bit stressing you out, because you're not in that place. You're not in that kumbaya place. Yeah, I would like to suggest that maybe you just have that be okay, that you surrender to, this is where I am right now, instead of having the egoic mind say, well, this is where I should be, or this is where I want to be, where I want to be, me, and just say, well, this is where I'm at now. And having that be okay, because the energy is going to shift easier and better, because it's going to experience a lot less resistance in that dynamic. Okay, Yvonne? Okay. And now it is Dawn. Hi, Dr. Rita. Good evening. I do hope you're in good spirits tonight. Could I get a #1 reading? Love you. Dawn, aka Worry Word. Oh, love you too, Dawn. Okay, a #1. I don't want that one. Okay, so Dawn, this was just kind of weird because it kept cutting at this one spot, but it was not, I wasn't feeling it. And so there were like these kind of funky, nasty cards. Hey, hey, hey. Come on. Go lay down. Come on, go, go, go. Sorry, cat and dog in room, which usually means bark fest. Okay, but this is the card that I want to read for you. You know, so I get the impression that this past week, last couple of days, recently, that you've really been kind of sorting through your thinking and sorting through your thoughts. And I think that's why these came up, because I feel like they're really representing that dark part of you. And kind of taking inventory of where you've been. How do I want to say this? I just get the impression that, you know, there has been a lot going on inside of you, a lot going on with you that has been on very unconscious levels, and you found yourself in that negative place a lot. But I feel like at this point, you're able to kind of take enough of a step back that you can actually objectively look at that negative place and kind of pick and choose, well, was I angry for a real reason, a justifiable reason, or was I upset for a justifiable reason, or, you know, was I just not regulating correctly? All right, so I'm going to give you my example. So this was my thing yesterday. So y'all know I'm working on that house. And so I was going to install bifold doors, or at least attempt to install a bifold door. I've never done it before. I was really freaking nervous. Read the instructions, which I had to go find, which is a pain by itself. But I'm like, okay, there's not that many parts. Get the rail up, get the pegs into the door, get the piece on the floor installed. And I go to put the door in, and the opening is too small. Too small. Apparently, the opening for a door is supposed to be 80 and a half inches. And all of mine were about 79 and a half inches. And so this bifold door was not going to fit in there. Now, if it was just one door, that maybe wouldn't be that bad. But I have 6, and they all have the same issue. And actually, one of them is not wide enough also. Now, thank God, I have come up with a solution that should work pretty good. But I was not very pretty yesterday. But after kind of whining about it for a while, I got better, you know? And so one of the things that I've seen is that my ability to take what had been a really crappy situation and return back to my place of being centered and not upset, because I was not a happy girl, has gotten a whole lot smaller. And so, Dawn, I feel like you're really moving forward and making good progress in this whole transformation that you're making. So keep up the good work. Okay, and ERRT Radio says, hi, Dr. Rita, happy Thursday. Can I get a reading #3? Thank you. You sure can. Okay, I got cat and dog running all around. Hopefully they'll just get tired. Well, okay. I guess the cat got the door open. Either that or it was a ghost just opened my kitchen door, which is a little weird. Anyway, okay, ERRT radio. That's what came up for you. Mass card usually means that there's an energy block or there's something that you don't want to look at or you're in denial about. This is what's underneath that. I'm going to go ahead and read that card. Okay, so I feel like I'm a little bit cheating here, Dawn, or ERRT radio, because you had talked about your health issues, and I don't know if there's surgery on the table. That's kind of the impression that I'm getting from this card is worry about the surgery. And actually, I feel like it could be way worse. I feel like you have come more to terms with what's going on and what's happening. And you're not as scared. You're just like, okay, let's just do this and get it over with. So there definitely has been a period of surrender that you are working on getting through. But I do feel like that energy is sitting underneath that funky old mass card. Mass cards, bad. Hey, Miss Amy. She says, hi, Dr. Rita. Can I get a reading, please? Number 2. Thank you. You sure can, Amy. Okay. And as always, if what I'm saying is resonating with you, please do share with me, give me some feedback on it. It's always very much appreciated. Okay. So Amy, that's your card for today. So, Amy, I just feel like there's too many moving parts going on for you right now. Because there's not just dealing with your stuff. I feel like you're having to deal with other people's stuff too. Kind of the sad part is I don't feel like with what's going on with the other people that you can really take a step back. Like you need to be involved, you need to participate. I do feel like, and this is good, this is a good thing, that you are there, that you are present, that you are providing aid when required, but you're not taking it over. You're allowing them to create their own karma. And you're just, I think, that you're just being present with it is pretty good, but it's still kind of overloading and overwhelming. And, even though you might not be saying anything, you're still processing it in your mind and stuff. Sorry. Hope that makes sense. Okay. All right, let's see. Hey, Christine, how are you? And she would like a reading number 2, and you sure can. I don't know that I've seen any Facebook people on here today. Okay. And this is your card for today. Okay, so I'm getting kind of dual things going on. The first thing that I feel is that you feel kind of tired. and not necessarily emotionally tired, but just tired, like you've been working too much, working too hard. But the good part is that I feel like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so it's almost making it where you're almost speeding up so that you can get things done and be done with the whole thing. Please do make sure that you give yourself some time to rest. I can understand that dynamic of, just wanting to finish and put something behind you, but burning yourself out, getting there isn't necessarily the healthiest thing. Okay. Okay. Master player. Hey, master player. Number 3. I'll tell you what, these mask cards always show up at the bottom. And it's like, you all can stay at the bottom. All right, master player. All right, and that's your card for today. So, master player, I'm not even sure you recognize this, but I feel like there is this longing inside of you, and it's causing you to look at things, look for things, to get this satisfaction. I'm not sure that there's a conscious awareness of this. I don't even want to say lost, but of kind of this almost black hole that is really looking to be filled. And I just feel like it's been there for quite a while. And maybe why this is coming up is that you are just becoming aware of that. I'm not really understanding the dynamic in this whole thing, because they're not really giving me a whole lot of information about what the piece is that's missing. And so maybe that's not what I'm supposed to be digging into, but more sharing about that lack that you might be experiencing, or this hole. I'm not, again, I hope that makes sense. I mean, they show me stuff, and so from my world, it doesn't necessarily make sense, but from your world, it might. It should. It better. Hi, Nina. Nice to see you. Hey, Paramount Tech. Nice to see you. Veronica says, really weird on Facebook. Oh, sorry. Hi, Veronica. Okay. Then she says, yes, like Kennedy. I love Kennedy. You never know what he's going to say. Hey, Ricky. And Ricky says, hello and happy Thursday evening, Dr. Rita. May I have a number 3, please? You sure can. Okay. And this is your card for today. So interesting, Ricky, I kind of get the impression that you've been kind of brainstorming looking around at possibilities and opportunities. I feel like what's going on is really kind of on a high level, not really trying to sort the details out, but more looking at the big picture. I feel like you're trying to find the end of the rainbow, picking, trying to find the best thing for you. I mean, it's interesting because this commentary usually comes up with a different card, but I feel like for you, one of the things you're also looking for is what is going to bring you joy, what is going to fill you and fill that fantasy inside of you that will make you feel good, that will make you feel happy. So good job and good luck. Okay. Hi, Anita. So nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in today. Okay, Gary, I would like a reading number 2. Thank you, nice lady. Hey, Gary, and you sure can. Uh-oh, I see Antone down there. I'll get into you next. Okay, Gary, that's your card for today. And again, if what I'm saying to you resonates, please share that with me. I would appreciate it. Okay, Gary. So, Gary, I am feeling like some sort of dissatisfaction in your space, like you're just not really happy. And that's not a good word, that you're experiencing discontent. And when you look around, it's like, I just feel like there's not a whole lot in your world right now that's bringing you joy, that's bringing you passion. I feel like there's part of you that wants to be happier again. All right, hang on one second, guys. And so, Gary, one of the things that I say quite often, instead of trying to go grab it and go, this is the thing, and go out there, allow it to come to you. Allow what that is to come to you instead of you trying to get it more, and I'm going to say aggressively, through your power, or you forcing it into happening. Just allow it to happen. Just allow it, and it will shift the focus on it. Okay? Hi, Antone. Austin, sweetie, how are you? And he says, hi, Dr. Rita, could I please have a reading number 3? And you sure can, Austin. Okay. All right, and that's your card for today. So, Austin, the first thing that you're showing me is that you're trying to figure out how you can get out of Dodge. And I think what I want to say to you is that you will get out of Dodge. And I feel like that goal that you created, you're holding it. That image is very clear. And it is something that you will do and will achieve. I feel like sometimes you get frustrated about it. Sometimes you feel like it really isn't ever going to happen. And I want to say to you that based on the energy you're showing me today and you're showing me right now, it will happen. It's just going to take some time for it to just pull together. So just be patient and hold that energy, hold that vibration, and it will happen. Okay? Sweet. Nice seeing you. I mean, your name and all. Veronica says, Queen of Dissociation. Wow, that's how I think. And then Unar says, interesting topic. I feel like I dwell too much over the past. So you're a ruminator, are you, Unar? Okay, Jessica, hey. And she says, hey, Dr. Rita, good to see you on here. I plan to message you privately to schedule a private reading. And y'all can do that too. I'm coming up to a big crossroads. Wow. Okay. Well, I'd love to work with you on that. So just reach out to me on Facebook or send me, go to my webpage and use the email contact form, which for me tends to be the easiest. So anyway, okay, cool. All right. ERRT Radio says, great topic again. Thank you. Oh, thank you, ERRT Radio. And then Anton says, number 2. Okay, number 2. Okay, that's your card for today. Okay, so I'm just going to say this, is everybody just feeling really kind of cranky everybody's energy just seems kind of down and funky, and I don't know. I just don't know. Not necessarily bad, but just not right. Anyway, okay, Antone. And I'm bringing that up because Antone, usually your energy is pretty good, and I'm not feeling it today. I get the impression that you're kind of going through some heavy stuff. And we all have to deal with things, and I don't know how to change it or make it better. Sometimes just accepting that this is what it is, and it'll keep going till it's done, or until I make a different choice, which sometimes is the situation. For you, I'm feeling like, this is a situational thing and it's not necessarily in your control. And just knowing that it's not in your control and just going, okay, whatever, and moving on will make it be more tolerable to get through. I hope that makes sense. Hey, Margie, nice seeing you. Okay, so Jessica, if you're looking on my website, all you need to do is schedule an appointment, and we're going to just go wherever we need to go. So you don't need to pick one, because sometimes in the middle of a reading, I do energy work, and I just go wherever they tell me to go. But I'm going to pull a card for you and just see what comes up. Okay, so that came up. But really do reach out to me to schedule a session. I have openings next week. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, you definitely need to make an appointment. So I feel like there's some things that you are, and I'm going to say having to decide on, but I feel like, what I want to say is that is precarious, but that's not the right word. That there are some fine points that need to be kind of worked out and looked at and addressed, and details that need to be looked at, with a finer tooth comb than with some kind of a generalization, that you may or may not have. So yeah, would love to help you. Would love to help you. Okay. Okay. Unar says, wonderful reading tonight. I feel it. Thank you. Thank you, Unar. All right. Nina says, I would love a reading 3, please. Okay. A 3 for Nina. See, Mash card on the bottom again. You know, I think I'm going to start holding that up because they're on the, I don't put them there. They just, you know, either we have days where it's like Mash card every reading, or they end up on the bottom a lot, which is just fine with me. Okay, so Unar, that's your card for today. Or yeah, Nina. Did I say Unar? Nina, that's your card for today. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what your news is, but this is kind of interesting. So I feel like you are being called on to activate your creative energy, you know, whether that is doing art or writing or organizing or painting or cleaning, you know, because cleaning can be a creative act if there is organization behind it. You know, there are a lot of things that are not just what we consider the traditional arts that can be a very creative thing to do. And I feel like you're being called to activate that within yourself. I feel like it had been very strong at one point in time and you've kind of put it to the side. And now you're like taking it out of the closet and a little bit nervous about it. You know, when you're talking about creativity, it's kind of like riding a bike. You know, you either can or you can't. And so roll with it, ride with it. You know, so I hope that is tied to the news that you're going to be getting or got or whatever. But cool. All right. Yvonne says, oh, yes, I'm in surrender. Can't fight it. Don't want to. Oh, good. Thank you. Then don't. Antone, did I just give you a reading? Yeah, I gave you a reading. And Don says, thank you. I like what you said. I hope I can live up to it. And Don, I say this every week. It's like, you know, we're all a work in process. And you just, you're working on it. And that's good. And then Master Player said he already had his surgery. So then I'm down here to ERRT radio. So if you've already had your surgery, then I feel like there's some concerns post-surgery. I was kind of wondering about that, not about the timing, but about how the worry has shifted. But I feel like there's still concern. So, okay. Amy says, perfectly spot on. The card you pulled made me laugh right away. Heading to the tip jar. Thank you. Yeah. And, you know, if you are enjoying the show and you're getting the insights and guidance that you want or need, you know, I would really appreciate it if you go to soulhealer.com/live. That's soulhealer.com/live and leave a little something in the tip jar. You know, it helps me keep this show up and running and here for you every week. Oh, thank you in advance. Okay. Christine says, thank you for the reading. You're on point as always. Thank you, Christine. Master Player says, interesting. I just go to find what fits there. Thank you once again. You're so welcome. Austin says, yep, that's spot on. Trying to head out to the Philippines. Very cool. Very cool. Don't push it. You know, I say this to everybody all the time. You're going, you know, and so allow it to come to you, because if you sit there and get impatient with it, then you're going to miss something or forget something, you know, so keep working on it until you get it's time. and then you go do it, because that's when spirit is actually sending you there to go. All right. All right. Gary says you are right on with my reading, and I'll take your advice and go forward with it. Thanks. Okay, Gary. Perfect. Okay. Oh, so Jessica, they're not different readings. So just FYI, so when someone asks for a number, it's not the kind of reading, it's how many times I shuffle the cards, not a kind of reading. Okay. All right. ERRT Radio says, I was frustrated. I was in the hospital 4 days after my procedure. Sorry about that. Master Player says, great show once again. And I just looked at the clock and it is time. So again, if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, please go to my website, soulhealer.com, and drop me an email and we'll set up a time. This show is brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can learn to be a medical intuitive counselor, or certified energy medicine practitioner. And please do go and like and subscribe to my different social media channels. I'll try not to overwhelm you with stuff. I really don't. I mean, mostly I post on Facebook and now Substack. I post on there a lot. Anyway, so guys, until next week. So next week, we're going to talk about the superconscious mind. But again, till next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Till then, be blessed.